Welcome one and all to the world's finest show. I'm Kyle Hudson.
I'm Carly Kay.
And I'm Ray Gordon.
And it's good to be back. We're on a little bit of a sporadic schedule, with the quarantine and all of that stuff. Makes it a little hard to gather and do our show. But how have you guys been?
Carly.
I'm mentally drained. Thankfully I can work from home. I can broadcast my show from home, but it's not the same. And I think being trapped inside of my room is a little. I feel claustrophobic because everybody in my house has to work with people every day. So I'm high risk because I have really bad asthma. So it's just me having to stay to myself is scary.
I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
What are you reckon?
Well, I've made it. If it wasn't for the fact that I can't work today because everything's shut down for some type of deep clean of the whole enchilada, I would have worked like almost 2 months in a row, being essential. Couldn't stop. This whole essential worker tag is kind of dystopian. I don't know if I like it. I do like not having there be cars on the road so I can get to where I need to go without a hassle. But I've seen too many accidents. So even though they're essential people.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they really can't really drive essentially. So, it's kind of disheartening.
Well, at least they're cleaning it.
True. They are, well, everything needs to be clean. Everything needs to be clean. This is the new world order. Cleanliness.
No, I hear you. I mean, I've been trying to stay out too. Luckily, I can work from home for the most part as well. But I've been, because I do digital marketing, it's been a lot more people need that now. So I've actually, in some places
I think people
seen
are
more
saying
demand.
now, people are saying just how important that is now that, you have to be home and, you can't get out and do things for yourself. I think maybe people will start taking people that work in, the digital world more seriously now. You actually need this.
Well, I think they're taking a lot of things more seriously. I think we can all now say that those McDonald's workers might deserve, a little bit more than minimum wage, like $7 an hour. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
I think it's an easier argument for those folks and those poor GameStop employees, man. Now they're finally shut down. I think during our last show they were still open, but yes, GameStop has finally shut down across the country. They were forced to, but they put their employees who are being paid like minimum wage. Let's be honest, in such a bad position by forcing them to take in games and stuff like that. And I don't know, it really turned myself off to them as a brand. I don't know if I'll be spending money at GameStop anytime soon.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a good horse to back, just because. It's a new world order. I keep saying new world order over and over again because I can't think of a time before Corona. Everything now is just Corona or bust. Corona lives forever.
Yeah, and it's only been a month.
Right. It's all just overnight. I woke up and I'm in a different paradigm. There's masks, there's gloves all over the place. I think what's scary about it is the fact that there are game players out there, card game players or dice or what have you, that, little small group settings, but even that little innocuous meetup could pose a hazard now.
Oh, yeah. No Magic the Gathering, guys. No Magic the Gathering. Or Dice Masters. I know that's not what you're talking about.
No, that's kind of what I was talking about. Where I'm working
I
now,
know.
there are people who are working now who used to always meet up and have little Magic the Gathering, Saturday, playoffs or whatever, and now that's done. It's
or even
weird.
Or even Pinochle or Dominoes or just that's the thing, right? Because we're all supposed to be, have more time to ourselves technically, but that means we're social and we want to go out and do things and, we can't. And that's the hardest thing, right? So, I've been playing a lot of video games, personally to try and manage this. Not in the beginning, because in the beginning I was just like getting things straight, making sure we had everything, you know what I mean? But now that I'm kind of settled in, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Final Fantasy VII came out yesterday.
I've heard things. Pray tell, what is your opinion on it?
Have either of you two played the original Final Fantasy VII?
Yes.
No.
No. Okay. Are you aware of what it is or how culturally significant it is?
I'm really not. Mm-mm.
Okay, so how old were you in 1997?
Voice, right?
How old were you in 1997?
2.
You were 2 years old. Okay, that makes sense.
Adorable.
That makes sense that you weren't playing at the time.
I was sick.
So
I was rolling.
Yeah, but it's 6 you're at least aware of video games. You know what I mean? Like you
I was aware
on your radar.
Barney. I was aware of Barney. That's what I was aware of.
Really? It was 6? Well, anyway, I remember it because I'm old, and Final Fantasy VII coming out, like, I'd played the other ones on Super Nintendo, but this was like, you know, it was PlayStation, it was polygons, you know what I mean? And like, you look at it now, and it's just like, wow, that's a game from 1997. But at the time, it like blew your mind, right? Like, it's really hard to emphasize. It's kind of like when the first really, you know, awesome game comes out on the new generation, right? Like Grand Theft Auto 5, right? Like, It's just like, you're like, whoa, what is this? I've never seen anything like this before. Right. And that's what this game was. And it had people who never played RPGs before playing it. And I will say, it's really, really fun to be playing this game that came out 23 years ago and that I've played so much and have it recreated with like modern technology, and it's a very modern game. It's not like the old one. So it's not like Resident Evil 2 that just came out, right? Where it was like a remake, where they kind of like updated it and, you know, quality of life. No, this is a brand new game with the same story, but more. It's amazing. If you guys have a PlayStation 4, I actually probably am going to do a review on it. I'm that excited.
So the people who are Final Fantasy buffs, how is this compared to the other iteration of Final Fantasy? I'm assuming you've played some of the more recent Final Fantasies.
I played every Final Fantasy except for 1 and 2.
Why?
I think those were on the original. Well, they were on the original Nintendo, which I didn't have. And I don't know, like playing through them now, it's more of like a history lesson than a fun entertainment experience. I mean, because Carly, you got to remember, old school RPGs didn't have voice acting. You actually read them. They're a lot like interactive books in that way. I always kind of thought of them like that. You know, like Chrono Trigger and like all the Final Fantasies up until like 10 was the first one to have voice acting. They were like you read them. You know what I mean? You interacted with them. They were a game, but you read these crazy stories about, I don't know. Ray, you've played a lot of Final Fantasy. What would you say is like the essence of because Final Fantasy stories are all different. What would you say ties them all together?
I think what ties them all together is it's dark and it's
dark.
Sort of, it's a darkness in its finality is what ties it all together.
Okay, yes,
like
actually,
for most of the games that have, you know, the Final Fantasy essence, revolves around that conceptual life and death, light and dark, good and evil, and then the essence in between. So when you say Final Fantasy, what ties them all together, I would have to say it is the concept of mortality. Because when you think of final anything, you think of the last.
And it never is. I'm like Final Fantasy 15 right now. Have you played any of them, Carly?
No, I've literally never played any.
Do you play any RPGs? 'Cause I know me and Ray are like all about the JRPGs.
No, I don't think so.
No Kingdom Hearts?
Nope.
Technically,
I've watched people play it before, but I've never like had the urge to play it, if that makes sense.
I guess technically Fortnite could be considered an RPG.
No, it cannot. No, it is not.
Technically? Don't you level up?
okay, a lot of games have implemented RPG elements. Okay?
Oh, so what
Like,
you're saying is that now RPG is much broader.
well, so no, Japanese RPGs are a very specific thing, right? Your Dragon Quest, your Final Fantasies,
Right.
I'm trying to think of
Your
another,
Star Ocean.
Shin Megami Tensei, even Pokemon to an extent. You know what I mean? It's a different type of Japanese RPG, but it's definitely a Japanese RPG.
All the
whereas,
Tales of games.
right, and then the other kind are more like a Mass Effect or what's the other one? Dragon Age. Even I guess it's a weird RPG adventure hybrid, and you don't level up, but you do get stronger as the game goes on. I would say Zelda definitely has a lot of RPG elements to it.
Yeah, that's like a hair's breadth away from not being an RPG, but it definitely falls under the slot.
But I guess that's where you can start seeing the RPG elements bleeding into other types of games, like Deus Ex, right? Like Deus Ex games are like shooters, they're first-person shooters, but you also level up and get experience, and like even the Spider-Man game that came out recently, you like leveled up your skill sets in that. So if you're not an RPG player, what do you play, Carly? What are the games you got up on your horizon that you're looking forward to?
I have nothing. That's the problem, because I don't even have any. I have nothing to play it on except my phone. My PS4 broke a while ago. My brother has a PS4, but he's home and he's actively using it all the time. So
Carly, are you telling me that you have a phone and you don't go diving in the phone game?
All right. So let me not completely lie. Let me look and see the stupid games. You guys, literally, have you ever just, I don't know, no, this definitely happens on Facebook too, where I'll just, scroll through my feed and it tells me like it'll show you a preview of a game and then you download it. So there's, I'm trying to figure out some of the games because I just had to delete them to make space just so I can update my phone. But, I've been playing, I wish I knew the name of some of these games, but there's one game, it's kind of like Guitar Hero, but it's your fingers.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I've been doing okay so far with that one, but like some of the stuff kind of trips me up. Then there's
so you like tap and plays, like
rhythm games.
I really do.
Rhythm games.
Yeah. And I don't know, but my birthday is in almost 2 weeks now.
Oh my gosh.
And I really, really want a Nintendo Switch, but they're kind of hard to come by right now.
Especially right now. I mean, they can be done. You just gonna have to pay the piper.
You know what? I don't even mind paying for it at this point. Like, I just want something else to do. Like, I've done a lot of stuff inside my house. Like, I put up curtains like an adult, But I'm trying to.
Do you have an HDMI cable?
I do.
I can maybe when I go out, because like I do go out next week. I'm gonna do Meals on Wheels, and so I can come out and I can, if you want, I can drop off a Xbox 360 for you to borrow.
Kyle, that is such a long drive. Oh my God. No, that really is a long drive. I can meet you halfway if that is better for you.
All right, yeah, we can do no contact. I got a whole bunch of games too. I unfortunately lent my Ghostbusters game to my neighbor already, because it's just been sitting there.
I'll be fine.
But actually, I do have Final Fantasy 13. If you want to give that one a shot, that's like one of the worst ones. It's not a bad one.
Yeah,
any Final Fantasy game is better than one.
I thought you were gonna say 15. You went with 13.
That's not even the worst one. No, I'm down for it. I'm like really open to like doing things that I never really had the chance to do now that I have all this free time.
Oh, really?
I saw someone post something that like, if you haven't done it by now, you didn't lack the time. You lack the discipline.
That's kind of a fair statement, especially for people who are like not like if your job is still on. I understand people. You got to go and do your thing and save the world and be those superheroes. But if your job is closed or you work different and you're not getting stuff done, You're right. It is not a time problem. It's not.
Yeah.
Y'all gotta tap into your Zen.
So what new things have you guys been doing, since you've been on lockdown?
I have not.
Well, I know
been
you're
on
working.
lockdown.
I know you're working like crazy, right? What about you, Carl? You said you're in your room crawling up the walls. What new hobbies have you pursued?
This is like really like professional, I guess, kind of. But I made a LinkedIn. I know I had a LinkedIn before, but I didn't really use it, so I deleted it. So I want to say 2 days ago I made a LinkedIn, and I really don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. Trying to figure it out.
No, we'll talk offline. I'll help you out with that.
Yeah, because I literally have no idea what I'm doing.
It's like making a D&D character sheet for your professional life.
Yeah.
Your skills,
thanks
and your history.
It's a lot. Like after I want to say after like an hour of me like just trying to like put in some of my information, I was like, wow, like who are there people that sit here and do all of this all day for a living? Like they manage other people's links. Like I understand managing other forms of social media, but like something as professional as LinkedIn, like I think that would drive me insane.
But
people use it differently. I do social media for like a living, and LinkedIn is like a neat, interesting little animal, but it is just like anything else. I actually heard this thing on sports radio actually, and it was incredibly profound. And it's like every tweet is a press release. He was referring to NBA players, but I think it can be referred to anything. And really every social media post is a press release in like today's hyper-connected world. You know what I mean? So like LinkedIn, having someone, if LinkedIn is a main channel that you use to find business, like headhunters and stuff like that, then having someone manage your LinkedIn does make sense. I manage the social media channels of like a whole bunch of people or a whole bunch of different types of platforms. And, LinkedIn is really interesting though. I do think it's interesting. And what's interesting right now is how like it used to be a lot of traffic to LinkedIn during the week and then it would switch up to Facebook during the weekend. But now you're getting a really interesting blend. And I would venture to guess actually LinkedIn is getting less traffic than they used to get.
Really?
Well, just because on the day-to-day people, like when you were at work, man, you couldn't go on Facebook. I mean, you could because you work at a radio station, but most people can't go on Facebook at their job computer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
I had an interest. I know it's kind of a segue, but I was definitely watching. Okay, so like the coronavirus thing is kind of a big deal. So production has slowed down tremendously. So there was time where I was just perusing, trying to gather information online about what's going on in America or the world. And YouTube popped up because that's what happens. And I was watching a movie on YouTube, and then it just sort of happened that I was at work, but this movie was I had to remind myself, and it wasn't like safe for work, right? It seems that like with the coronavirus going on, that things are getting a little lax. People are getting a little, used to this new, quieter world.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't be watching Human Centipede at work, Ray.
Listen, okay, that's not what had happened was I was watching, it was a debate. Somebody had brought up Battle Angel Alita, and I got incensed because I saw both the newer one and the older one that the newer one was the remake of. Hence the name.
Wait, there's an older one? I knew there was the one that came out recently with Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, so there's an anime movie. It's called Battle Angel. The concept is similar but not the same. Instead of it being about this roller derby thing, it's mostly about being a hunter. It's like the hunter aspect of it. It's like go out, get things, get money, get more acclaim, that sort of thing. That's the conceptual car that is driving that movie, which is why I was so perplexed by Battle Angel Alita because of the slant towards that roller derby. Everything's about this game that's inside this world. It was kind of a different frame of reference. But the The original movie Battle Angel came out in 1993, and it's kind of like, old school Japanese anime, right? It just so happened that like it's rated PG-13 for a reason. There's a little bit of content that wouldn't be safe for work, and I just had to remind myself when I saw it on screen that maybe I shouldn't be watching this right.
Dude, there's stuff in the 90s. Dude, in the 90s, there's stuff rated PG that I wouldn't feel comfortable watching at work now.
Things are different.
Like what? Like, have you seen, dude, so, I mean, this happened a couple years ago. I mean, probably 10 years ago now. My wife used to babysit when she was in college. And she was watching this kid, and I came over, to help, just hang out for a little bit. And we were like, oh, Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Nice
right?
movie, good movie, great movie.
PG movie. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
It's PG-13,
oh,
right?
I mean, see, nowadays we have our phone. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
I'm pretty sure it's rated R. It's rated R. It's
no,
like
it's
a
PG, man.
G and
it's
R.
PG.
It's PG.
No, dude, it's PG. There's Disney characters in that, man. Mickey Mouse
Oh
shows
my
up.
Whoa.
It's like one of the few movies that have Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny in it.
There's not many.
Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah. So we're watching that, and all of a sudden there's like, dude, there's a lot of innuendo. Like, you were playing patty cake with him? You know what I mean?
Listen.
Like, and then it shows like pictures, like, I caught pictures of her and him playing patty cake. And they're like pictures of them actually like playing patty cake, but it's like, there's a lot. Like the baby that smokes a cigar? Are you kidding me? Do you think they would let that be in a kids movie today? So
that
yeah,
was,
1990s movies were crazy.
That
and
was,
1990s anime, I will say, I'm not the biggest anime, not big like you, Ray, but like the good stuff I've seen, with one exception, comes from the 90s.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't get into the crazy computer animated stuff that's out now. Although I heard Castlevania, which is on Netflix. I heard Castlevania is really good. Castlevania?
Castlevania. I'm going to write this down.
And so it's based on a video game. I haven't watched it yet, but it's written by Warren Ellis, who's like one of my favorite comic book writers of all time. And it actually has gotten like really good reviews, and I think its third season just came out.
Good to know. I want to look into it.
Speaking of third seasons, the last third and final season of Future Man just came out.
Oh.
We'll finally see what happens to Josh Futterman, Tiger, and Wolf. And we started watching it so far. It's really good. It's like the first season. The second season was kind of weak, but the third season is much more like the first season. So
kind of a lot of Wire.
Kind of, yeah. The second season kind of takes a detour, but they said this is it after this. So apparently it ends. This is a time travel show. So, but it's got some great names. Like what's his name? Seth Rogen's in it, and he plays a character named Susan St. Jackalope.
there's some unfortunate news in the real world comic news, I suppose. Black Lightning, after its third season, is probably not going to be picked up again because of low ratings.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I think I've seen a clip of the show. I don't think I've actually seen an entire episode.
It was actually a really good show. It's just that the CW and it's all about how a show gets produced, like the route that it's on. Because like if it were on HBO or something else, it would probably be much more impactful, kind of like how The Watchmen was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, HBO owns the DC stuff.
Really? I guess it's about the content, because when it came out, it was more like for TV, not like special TV. It's not like an HBO like production. It's more like, here you go.
Well, see, I'm with Carly in that I also have never seen Black Lightning, and I think part of it was just saturation. Like they oversaturated the CW with this DC shows. I mean, look, I tried, dude. I mean, I didn't even finish Arrow. I got bogged down halfway through once I started to have to watch Arrow and Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and
Speaking of,
what's the other one? Then Supergirl shows up, and then now you're telling me I got to watch Black Lightning and now Batwoman. Like it's too much, man. It's too much to watch.
is there any thing that you would any games that you want people to look out for? Like me personally, for people who are stuck and want something to do, I'm looking into Borderlands 3. I've played the first two. I didn't play the other iterations, but Borderlands 3 seems to be a game that I'm looking into right now. And so far, so good. It's kind of wonky, but maybe that's just because I gotta get used to it.
I only played a little bit of Borderlands 2. I'll be honest. I didn't dive in as much as other people did because I was playing Destiny 2, and I know that was the bad decision to make. I should have played Borderlands.
I mean, it's all about what you like to play. Some people are Destiny, some people are Fortniters, some people are Halo, Call of Duty.
Can you play, Carly, if I get you hooked up with that Xbox 360, can you get Fortnite set up on that?
I've got to find somebody. Actually, yeah, I should be able to. I don't see why I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it played on the last generation of game systems or if it was only on the current ones. Because believe it or not, the Xbox 360 is the last generation system.
Oh, great.
Did you know? Did you guys hear that? They're still set on the new Xbox coming out this year.
Yeah, but they've also
I still haven't.
Wait, did you guys see the new PlayStation?
The controller?
So I saw the controller, but they hadn't said a whole lot about it. They've been pretty mum on the new PlayStation, other than the fact that it's been to be.
Do you like the way that it looks? Because I hear a lot of people they're not into it because it looks too Xbox-ish.
I'm glad you said that. I didn't want to be the one to say it.
I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I have mixed feelings. Part of me really likes it, and the other part of me is like, did they need to go that far?
It's kind of like when a certain generation of iPhone came out, and it was like right after the Galaxy S7, and then the new iPhone came out, and they were just like, I mean, it's nice, but I know I saw it before, but you're nice.
Yeah, but then everybody still goes and they buy it. So I don't know.
Well, see, what's interesting if you look at the evolution of controllers, right? I mean, like, I've been playing video games since I got a Sega Genesis back in, like, 1992, okay? So, like, if you look at the evolution of PlayStation controllers, they've stayed pretty much the same. I mean, like, I guess the first version didn't have the double analog sticks. So by the end of the PlayStation 1 life cycle, it did. Not every game used them, but they came with them. And then, like, the second version had the rumble, right? But they have that same look since, like, the 90s, you know?
Right.
People don't like change. Maybe, though, Xbox, because remember, their first controller was ugly. It was awful. It was big. It was bulky, the first Xbox. And then they started sliding over to more of the PlayStation design philosophy. So, I mean, hey, look, what matters, I don't care how it looks. The one thing that they need to fix, and I hate this about PlayStation 4 controllers, is the little light on the front of the controller. There's no way to turn that off. I hate that.
You don't like that?
No, I like playing games in the dark. I play like cinematic games like Detroit Becoming Human or the new Final Fantasy, right? And I like turn off all my lights. And then I have this like dull blue light. You know what I mean? It's like lighting everything up. I gotta kinda like put it in my lap or like, put a blanket on my lap or play it under a blanket or something like that so the light doesn't
It's kind of letting you
everything.
know where it is. Like it's kind of like a visual stimuli, like in case you can't find your controller but the game is on. It's like, look for the blue light. But I don't know. Maybe you gotta get some tape.
Okay, if the game designers were actually tying the color that my game controller was projecting to like what was happening on the screen, okay, that'd be one thing. But just having it be like a player marker, like the blue is player 1, red is player 2. I only have 2 controllers, so I don't know how far it goes after that. But I don't know, man. I've never liked that. You don't mind that, Carly? That doesn't drive you insane?
No, it really doesn't. I guess I can kind of understand because something that they gave us these work laptops. That's how like we are doing our show. And something that bothers me about it is the fact that the charger light never turns off. That bothers me. And it bothers me at night though when I'm trying to go to sleep. But that's typically when I'm charging the laptop. So I kind of get it, but I don't know, as far as the Xbox, like that, I don't know, that's never bothered me.
Y'all are real.
Well, I don't know if the Xbox controllers do that. I know the PlayStation. Honestly, I actually have an Xbox One, but it's like broken. And I've always been meaning to fix it. My friend just like, hey, here's a broken one. I've fixed systems in the past, and I was like, oh, it'll be a fun little project. Maybe I'll get around to doing that. But I never really played an Xbox One, so I don't know what their controllers are like. I've had one, but I've held it in my hands. I've never actually used it.
It's kind of goofy. Like, I'd rather you go for the wired controller over the wireless controller.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know why people trying to rethink how things are supposed. Wireless probably it was cool around the time of the Nintendo Wii, but now there's so many bugs and snafus and stuff. You can easily drop your controller and easily mess it up. Just give me my wire back so I can catch it before it hits the ground or something. Make it worth my while.
I'm not a wire type of gal. Wires in general, I don't like wires on even my earbuds. Like, I am going through it right now without my AirPods because of GG ate one. Yeah, so that is that's another thing on my list of things to buy myself for my birthday.
Well, don't you just have to wait for like a week? Don't you just have to wait like for a week for it to like pass?
What'd you say?
Don't you have to wait a week for it to just like pass?
Listen, she's not going to use the new AirPod and destroyed.
No, that's long gone. It's gone. So I need a new pair. But honestly, I'm thinking of getting not AirPods, but Galaxy Buds. I tried them once, and I like the sound quality better than I like AirPods. But I don't know if they are compatible with an iPhone. So that's my mission this week, to figure that out.
I'm gonna guess they aren't, because Apple's evil like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I don't know. But as far as like anything else, like wired, even the remote control, like for a PlayStation or Xbox, I don't like the wires. They get in the way. I trip on them by accident, and then the entire console falls, and then I break something. So I'd rather do without the wires.
Oh yeah, it seems like clumsy people don't do the wire thing. They're like, let it be wireless, and all of us like stand upright people are like, give us the wires back.
Well, there is a little bit of virtue on both sides. So I don't know if you're a hardcore gamer, and I think this might be why Ray is a little bit more keen to the wire, and he might not even know this, but he probably subconsciously feels it. Reaction time, like if you're playing on a GameCube or if you're playing Super Smash Brothers, your reaction time is faster on a wired controller than a wireless controller.
Yeah.
The signal travels through the copper wire faster than it travels through the air.
Gotta love copper.
So that is, and I mean, we're talking fractions of a second, but it is to the point where like real hardcore fighting game players like prefer wired controllers usually. And first-person shooters, too.
I have kept my Nintendo GameCube controller from when I got my GameCube out of the box. So whenever people want to play me in Super Smash Brothers, I politely uncoil my controller and remind them that they don't know what they're messing with.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the most comfortable controller for me, I will still say, is probably a PlayStation 4 controller.
4?
Well, see, I was going to say 2, but I have a PlayStation 2, and I go back, and I actually, this is where I have to kind of lean a little Carly's way, because I rolled out my PlayStation 2 recently, because, you know, I was amped up for Final Fantasy VII, so I was, like, playing some old PlayStation 2 games, PlayStation games, using my PlayStation 2. And I'll say, man, you know, the PlayStation 2 controller was great in its day, but it's a little light for what I'm used to today. The action on the shoulder buttons isn't what I'm used to, and the wire was more cumbersome than I remembered it being. And I think it's just because I'm so used to. You know what I mean? I'm so used to the wireless. I mean, look, the comfort of a Nintendo controller. You know how Nintendo has the either, you know, if you're playing the Switch, it's the two things, or even the Wii. You know, the controller isn't even together. It's like you can hold them on your side. You know what I mean? Like it. After you have that kind of comfort, being restricted just doesn't feel the same anymore.
I understand. And great answer, by the way. You saved both of us.
All right, and coming up next is Kiko McGowan, a local DJ. They're going to come on and talk about their craft, and we're going to explore all the cool stuff they do. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Leslie Hudson, creator and host of the Life After Baby Show. From bottles to books, spit up to social media, diapers to dorms, and everything in between, each week I interview parenting experts to help me navigate life as a new parent. You can find new episodes each weekend on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you find your podcasts. When the kids are finally asleep, visit our website at lifeafterbabyshow.com and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Life After Baby Show. And don't forget to take care of yourself so you can take better care of them.
All right. Hi, Kiko. How are you doing?
I'm really well. How are you doing, Kyle?
Good. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
So I've seen you DJing on Facebook Live, and I thought it was awesome. So I thought I'd bring you on and talk about what you're doing and what you do normally, and just shine some light on what you're doing. So I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, thanks for tuning in and thanks for having me on. I started DJing a couple years ago, and it kind of turned into this passion for me. I started doing like local events, like just like doing them for free. Like I did the Color Run in Westchester for the opioid crisis, and then I started doing some local like recovery group events. And it kind of spread from there. And during the quarantine, it's been pretty cool to get involved with. I saw my friend Eric Jaffe, who is a performer out of Philadelphia. They started doing these schedules every day for people that would be going live, and I was like, why not me? Like, I've got the equipment. Like, get on the schedule, get some people going, and get people moving, and so it started with every day I'd be streaming, and it's been really cool.
So if people want to catch those live streams, how can they do that?
So I'm actually going back to just a couple times a week because I kind of burned myself out a little bit. I think, this is like a time for self-care. But yeah. But every day. So right now I'm going to be doing Mondays and Fridays. So Mondays and Fridays on my personal Facebook, which is Kiko McGowan. And I'll be
doing... Can you spell that out?
Yeah, sure. My first name is Kiko, and then my last name is McGowan. Yeah, feel free to add me. I love making friends. I love networking and, getting to know what kind of stuff people like to hear. Yeah, so it'll be Mondays and Fridays at 5 p.m. and I do about an hour to an hour and 15. And it's really just music to get you going. I've heard some people say they like working out to the sets I'll be doing, or just listening in. I mean, some days are more chill than others. It's, most days are family friendly. It's been really cool to get this feedback of like, wow, like, it kind of gets me up. And because I think right now it's definitely easy to want to just chill out and, relax, which isn't a bad thing by any means, but, for people that are used to going to the gym or used to going to shows, I've heard people kind of give some feedback on that to me. So been a really cool experience for sure.
I think a lot of us are hitting a little bit of a cabin fever. I mean, folks like you and I who do have an outlet, I think, it is a healthy way for us to, kind of work on our craft and also, just get an outlet,
Definitely. And I think, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, the sort of like the second part of it, like not only having that outlet for me, I mean, of course, like, I don't just do it for like the views or the likes or whatever. Like I think a lot of musicians can speak to this. Like we do it because we have a passion and, or like DJs, musicians, whatever. But the second thing is kind of like being in service to people, like, realizing that like I can give back, however small, because there's people out there putting their lives on the line for this. So.
Oh, one of the, and I know I'm going to butcher the quote, but there's this, really cool quote from, Stan Lee. And he's like, when I was coming up, I used to kind of get down on myself, because I'd look at these doctors and these, politicians and these people out there that are like actively changing the world. And I'm just making comic books, right? But then I realized that like those people who do all those crazy things, like they need to turn their brains off. And I'm the guy who helps them do that. And so that's important in its own right. You know what I mean? Like it's a cycle that kind of they feed off of each other. And he was a lot more eloquent than I am. But, I wouldn't ever discount anyone out there, putting work into the world as more valuable or less valuable. I think that, certain times demand certain skill sets, but, other times demand other skill sets and people need each other. You know what I mean? So, going out there and spinning some records, I think is a noble cause in these days when people are just, I think, climbing up the walls a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, no, thank you. And I think what you just said, that quote, like, is powerful, right? Because, like, some people, connect to reading more, connect to, like, the idea, like, that, like, for example, nurses and doctors, like, they connect to the idea that, and are passionate, of course, about, like, I have this opportunity to show up and literally change someone's life. And, of course, that is, like, a fact. And a musician can do that too. I mean, I have countless artists that I could say have gotten me through some of the worst times of my life. There's artists like that right now in my life. So it's an interesting like concept to like see how like, it is like it makes the world go round. The different things the different talents and different things were kind of bestowed when we enter this journey called life. So
I think it's going to be interesting when I think you're going to still see albums come out because of you don't need as many people to make them. But you are going to see fewer movies in the next couple of months. You're going to see less TV shows. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm sure there's movies that people have been sitting on, TV shows people have been sitting on, but like, as this thing drags on, you're going to see less creative content out there. And that's where people like us who are self-creators, who make stuff ourselves, kind of need to step up and fill those voids. Because people are going to need music, they're going to need outlets. Like you said, when people work out, they're going to need, stuff to work out to. I will admit I'm not much of a person who I don't really work out too much.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. I mean, like I was reading this article that the Odyssey did about one of my favorite artists, Bon Iver, and it talks about his first album that came out in 2008, and this kind of story, the myth, or maybe the mysticism behind the album, is that this man, Justin Vernon, went in the middle of the woods, and he was in a very dark place, and he came out of this recording process and this writing process of being in a cabin in the woods in Wisconsin, and came out with this record. And this record has not only changed his life, and he's a very successful collaborator and musician now, but it's changed countless lives of people that are like, I get that. Like, I can relate to that. And,
What's the record?
And I think that's Forever, Forever Ago. It's came out in 2008. It's an excellent album. I don't know. It's just, I mean, and it's incredible how a seemingly little act or seemingly little, gesture or project that, you know, we as creatives work on, like it can change our lives. You know, and does that mean making it big? Probably not, right? But, you know, the effects that we have on other people, it could be as simple as a smile. You know, it's really cool how I see the world really coming together right now, especially in Westchester. You know, the community coming together quite a bit. So.
No, I agree. I definitely think you are seeing, you know, the better side of people right now. As, you know, we all kind of have to hunker down. We're all going through the same thing, right? This is really weird because, well, a lot of times when there's like a natural disaster or something like that, you know, like it's geographically constrained, right? So like it's everyone in New York or everyone in Philadelphia or, you know what I mean? But like we're all going through this, everyone. And so that's what kind of, I think, makes this really unique in that, you know, there's a certain empathy that everyone can kind of relate to everyone else's experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, too, like, it's like, you know, even though we're all quarantined, at least in my experience, I felt like I'm never alone. And music is the thing that's been helping me get through that. Like, has been helping me be like, oh, like, people are requesting this song or, you know, people, you know, want to hear this kind of music. And it's like, yeah, like, you know, there's sort of the relatability factor of, you know, and I know you probably feel this way too, like, music is such a tool to bring us together. Music, for me, has been that thing that's like, oh, we can't go to shows right now, but we have the commonality of, like, all of these live streams. I mean, I know I'm not the only one doing them. It's been, like, the stream I did the other night on a Thursday night, was this group of over 17,000 people on Facebook. It's called Quarantined Music Festival, and it's specifically geared towards, like, bedroom DJs, DJs that aren't big acts, and people that are just kind of on the up and up. And it's cool to see, like people tuning into that and kind of giving their fellows, like, this support, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's because music, the one thing I always tell people is, like, if you just want to sit in your room and play music that just you like, that's not really how it works. You know what I mean? Like, music is meant to be shared. It's meant to be, you know, it's at least two-person art form. You know what I mean? Like, you could be, a lot of art, you know, requires someone, I don't actually think it's art until someone observes it or, you know, synthesizes it, because I think that's what separates it, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, I think, how do I say this? I think it isn't until there's, like, a participant that it becomes art, right? Until then, it's kind of just like a sketch, or it's when you're like, hey, can you listen to this, or can you read this? That's when it starts, when you let it out into the world. That's when I believe it becomes art. But so tell me real quick, what got you into being a DJ?
So I've always been passionate about music. I've played guitar and sang for years, but I started going to these electronic shows. I was actually at Mad Decent Block Party in Philly, and I just started listening to a lot of electronic music. And of course, like, you can't really replicate that on a guitar. I mean, unless you're, like, using super cool, like, pedals and stuff. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, how could I be a part of this? And, you know, so I went out. I was working at Apple at the time, and I got paid, and I spent pretty much my entire paycheck on a controller, like a DJ controller. And I started by just kind of mixing songs I liked and hearing how, like, the different keys could go together, and I gained a lot of knowledge actually from an old roommate who was really into spinning drum and bass on, like, vinyl. Like, he's, like, very talented. But so the sort of passion for listening to music became this, how can I share this music? Like, it became, how can I kind of, you know, instead of just making someone a playlist, like, wouldn't it be cool to make people mixes, you know, and kind of meld it all together?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
really how I got my start, yeah.
No, I mean, I can actually relate all the way down to the roommate who got me into techno music.
That's awesome.
Have you ever heard of the album Random Access Memories by Daft Punk?
Oh yeah, it's a classic. That's a classic. I love that album.
Well,
yeah.
that's a techno album that doesn't use electronics.
Yeah. Don't they play everything kind of live, right?
I think, yeah, it's all instruments. I mean, they still sample and stuff like that, but I think that it's all actual analog instruments that they use to record, or at least most of it. I love that stuff. So do you make any original stuff, or do you just do you just spin other things?
Yeah, I've actually been working with an artist named Kozer Music, and she's based out of Philly, and she's a astounding vocalist. And she came to me a few months ago and was asking if I wanted to collaborate it, and I was kind of scared. I was like, 'cause she's like pretty established in the Philly scene, and I'm like, who am I? But so we got together, and I started sort of making these beats for her to sing over. And it's become this really cool friendship and this really cool, like, collaborative sort of artistry it's new territory for me entirely. And to touch on what you were saying earlier, like, the art of collaboration, like, has been the thing that's made this, like, taking the suggestion of, like, oh, this would be cool here, or, like, like, just to even lay down a loop and hear Kara sing over it has been, like, super, super, like, a change in course from what I'm used to doing. Because, with DJing, you're just kind of mixing two songs together, but when you're producing and beat making, it's a completely different ballgame.
Well, people forget, behind Macklemore, there's Ryan Lewis, right? If you open up Lord's CD, there's another name besides her name in the thing. You know what I mean? People forget that all these singers, they need someone to make that music. Most of them are incapable of making the music. I'd say a very small percentage of them are capable of making the music that comes up behind them. You know what I mean? Like your Taylor Swift, maybe. But most of the time it's a huge collaboration. Actually, if next time you buy an album, I encourage you to open it up and see exactly how many people it takes to make a music album. If people still buy albums. like people are still going down to the Sam Goody and buying their albums on compact disc. So,
that's awesome.
Actually, do you do vinyl or do you do digital?
Everything's vinyl. That's a lie. Everything's digital right now. I would love to delve into vinyl. I know it's quite the expensive habit. But everything's digital. But I listen to artists like Daft Punk and artists like Deadmau5 doing everything analog. Of course not vinyl, but analog, and that's like that is just more control. Like, it's a lot of control, and I love that. Like, the beat machine I work off of is called a machine by Native Instruments, and I've never been able to produce in like a regular digital audio workstation because I need to feel something. I need to press the buttons. I need to twist some knobs, like, and still have that sort of natural effect to that,
Well, you said you're a musician, so it kind of seems like not like being a DJ isn't a musician, but that you played guitar, so there's that tactile, thing that you're coming from.
Sure. Yeah. Totally.
So, thank you so much, Kiko, for taking the time to hang out with me and chat. Do you think maybe you could send over some music for us to share?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Cool. And, once all this clears up, maybe you and your partner can come on and maybe perform live for us. I think that'd be fun.
That would be really cool. I know we'd be into that for sure.
Cool. Well, again, good luck. Stay safe out there, and, hopefully we get you back on here soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye. Cool. Well, guys, thank you again for hanging out for a little bit today. I really genuinely appreciate it. Make sure you stay safe. I guess, Carly, I'll be in contact with you to get you that Xbox because I literally have it just sitting there collecting dust, and if you're going crazy, I can definitely help you out. One last thing. Yeah, so the main reason why we didn't have a show last week, scheduling was crazy, but I got asked by my state representative to help her out with a initiative. State Representative Carolyn Comita asked my wife and I. We own Crimson Planet Media, which is a local marketing agency that produces this show, a bunch of other stuff. And they asked to help out and make them a website and some social media for a effort called the Chester County Masketeers. So check that out if you're so inclined on social media. We are accepting fabric donations. People are donating masks, and we're distributing them to non-healthcare essential workers across the county where I live. So that's pretty cool. And it's been a great response. And I'm sure there's things like everywhere. So if you don't live in Chester County, which is where we do, I'm sure there's something by you. So if you want to help out, making masks and getting them into the hands of people who need them is something tangible that you can do to help people out. So, yeah. I guess I kind of want to end on that positive note because it is kind of awesome to see all these people coming together to help people out and just, pooling their resources. It's really inspiring, and it all the darkness that we face right now, it's these little spots of light that help us lead the way out, you know what I mean? So again, I guess that brings us to the end of our show. This show has been made possible by electricity and brought to you by
light.
That's it. I want to thank you, the listeners, for doing this. We do it all for you. The show's the production of Crimson Planet Media. Like I said, you can find out about us on social media. You can find out more about the World's Finest Show at worldsfinestshow.com, at World's Finest Pod on Twitter. We're also on Facebook and YouTube. So that's it. Stay safe out there, folks. Have fun. And until next week,
Geek geek.
Woohoo!
The world's finest show.